Hey guys, so we are going to be doing a lab today on ternary ionic and binary ionic compounds. So what you're going to be doing in this particular lab is I'm going to kind of go over, you'll have to get your link off of the Google slide thing or off of Google Classroom, and then as you can see we're going to be forming and naming ionic compounds, okay? And so we're going to have a reaction mat, and we're going to be doing this particular lab. Now I'm going to go ahead and go over the introduction with you guys, and then I'm going to flip the camera and zoom in. Now as I'm going through, I'm just going to go ahead and show you how to add everything. Then once everything's been added, we're going to fill in this chart right here on the back side of the paper. And what that's going to be, it's either going to be written as a precipitate or no reaction, or we're going to look at the colors and things like that, and I'm going to go over that with you. So the problem that we're trying to solve in this lab is, when do ionic substances react to form a product? What are the names and formulas for these products? So how do we know a product is formed? If we go back to what we learned before about how do I identify what chemical reactions are? If you remember, one of the items, the five, there was 5 different ways you could tell that a chemical change has occurred, right? One of those 5 ways was a precipitate is formed, okay? So we're going to know by looking at this reaction mat whether or not a precipitate was formed when you're taking 2 liquid solutions, combining them together. If a precipitate forms out of the reaction, a precipitate is a solid that forms from 2 liquids, okay? If the precipitate comes out of solution, then we have a reaction. If nothing happens, then it's a no reaction. So we don't actually write the ionic compound because nothing happened, okay? Which basically means when we get into writing net ionic equations, a no reaction means that all the ions canceled out, so nothing reacted, okay? But when we do net ionic equations, sometimes in order to have certain substances in solution of what we're trying to actually react and make in a reaction, we have to use what we call spectator ions. And these spectator ions are only there to keep the item we're looking to mix together in solution, okay? And they kind of are just there to help keep it in solution, but then once the reaction takes place, this solid that we're looking for actually comes out of the solution. Okay, so here's your intro. When they dissolve in water, ionic compounds break apart into ions. These ions move about among the water molecules, bumping into the other ions and molecules in the solution. When 2 ionic solutions are mixed, several things can happen. In this experiment, you will have an opportunity to mix various ionic compounds in solution. When solutions of some ionic compounds are mixed, the cation, the positive ion from one, and the anion from another form what we call an insoluble compound that appears as cloudy or grainy solid called a precipitate. On the other hand, if all the cation and anion combinations form soluble pairs, no precipitate appears. All of the ions remain in solution. So in this experiment, your task will be to mix ions of different kinds and to observe whether they form precipitates. If a precipitate is formed, you will write the formula for the new compound and then name the product. Okay? All right. Now, there's a little pre-lab assignment on there that you can do prior to this, but I'm not going to actually do that in the lab part. Okay? So, let's go ahead and flip over to the back side, which has your procedure on it. Okay? Now, I'm going to flip the camera. Or actually, I may not be able to flip the camera. So what I'm going to have to do is end the video, and then I'm going to start the lab process. So this will be your intro, and then I'll start the lab following this video.